Lithuania has closed its borders due to ongoing provocations from Belarus. Russia has cunningly provoked Europe and created division among European countries, and it appears they've succeeded. Let's take a look at this today. Belarus, which is also known as a pro-Russian country, has continuously sent smuggling helium balloons into Lithuania. But Lithuania has started to react strongly to this. Lithuania has called these actions hybrid warfare and is exploring joint NATO responses. Airports temporarily closed due to balloons sent by Belarus. Vilnius Airport in Lithuania's capital has been temporarily closed 4 times recently. These balloons aren't used for attacks. Instead, smugglers are believed to use helium balloons to smuggle cigarettes. However, Lithuania believes Belarus and Russia are intentionally permitting these activities. Recently, 2 Russian military aircraft violated Lithuanian airspace, escalating the crisis. Lithuania responded by closing its borders due to security threats. Belarus accused Lithuania of unilaterally closing the border and called it a provocation. Russia regularly tests Europe with low-level provocations like drones, smuggling balloons, and military aircraft violating airspace. Many experts believe that these provocations are not accidental incidents, but rather deliberate actions carefully calculated by Russia. Russia believes it must disrupt European Union unity now. The more united the European Union becomes, the greater the support for Ukraine will be, and this will become a disadvantage for Russia. But since Russia is already at war with Ukraine, it can't just invade the Baltic states to try to change the situation. They are using low-level provocations to undermine European Union unity. Russia's ongoing provocations appear to be effective. In Europe, a widening gap exists between countries bordering Russia and those that don't. The European Union recently said it will set up a drone barrier on the eastern borders of Eastern European countries to stop Russian drone provocations. In Korea, only a few hundred kilometers need installation, but here they must set up thousands and build a dense air defense network against drones. Within Europe, debates continue. The main issue is money. Opposition has increased, particularly in Germany and Southern Europe. In particular, Chancellor Merz of Germany publicly criticized the drone barrier plan, calling it unrealistic and financially irresponsible. Southern European countries objected, questioning why they should fund Eastern Europe's drone barrier. As I mentioned, neighboring Eastern European countries are facing direct provocations from Russia. Lithuania faces such a serious security threat that it has closed its borders, so this kind of drone barrier can help with security to some extent. However, there are already signs of division due to significant differences in opinions among the countries. The European Union supports the drone barrier plan for European defense. Ursula von der Leyen, European Commission President, told the European Parliament the drone barrier protects all of the European Union, not just Eastern Europe. She said it addresses threats like Russian provocations, natural disasters, terrorism, and crime. However, opposition from Germany and Southern Europe remains strong. Additionally, with this type of drone barrier, some countries have even been excluded altogether. The European Union did not invite Slovakia and Hungary because they are considered pro-Russian countries. They were left out due to concerns that sensitive security details related to the barrier installation plan could be leaked to Russia. This example shows the European Union's lack of unity. Building the drone barrier costs at least 1.65 trillion won. That's likely the minimum cost, so it may be higher. The installation area is about 2,600 kilometers. It should take over 3 years to finish. This drone barrier includes a new surveillance system and electronic warfare equipment installed or deployed at the border. It's about uniting each country's interceptor missile systems for rapid response to Russian drone attacks. It's not working properly due to financial issues. The European Union's drone barrier initiative has faced difficulties from the start. It appears to be a united European response to Russian drones, but there are already clear signs of division beneath the surface. This plan is being led mainly by the Baltic states, Poland, and Finland, which border Russia, but the key Western European countries, Germany, France, and Italy, are still showing a passive attitude. The main reasons are money and leadership. Building the drone barrier is expected to cost at least 1 billion euros or 1.6 trillion won, but there is no agreement on who will pay for it. Eastern European countries say that although they face direct threats from Russia, European security is shared, so Western Europe should help financially. On the other hand, Western European countries see Eastern Europe's sense of crisis as an exaggerated threat, and since they are not directly exposed to danger themselves, they feel there is not enough justification to invest that much money. A German diplomat said Europe shouldn't rely on them for defense costs, while a French official noted a Russian invasion of NATO is very unlikely. He He said economic recovery is the main priority now. Amid these differences in opinion, even the basic design of the project, the construction sections, the method of integrating the air defense network, and the operating entity have yet to be clearly decided. Despite Russia's repeated drone provocations and airspace intrusions, NATO has failed to take concrete countermeasures. Although NATO's founding treaty provisions have been invoked several times, each time all that came out was a declaration to use military and non-military means against all Russian threats, with almost no real action taken. Meetings have been repeated and warnings have been issued, but the anxiety of residents in the border areas remains unchanged. These repeated declarations and inaction only strengthen Russia's belief that the West won't act. Many experts believe current talks about deploying drone defense units are just political gestures. In reality, the prevailing view is that the practical interests within Europe are so complicated and intertwined that it will be difficult to implement this plan. Countries bordering Russia are frustrated by ongoing drone flights, asking how long discussions will continue, while Western European nations caution against provoking Russia too much. They remain cautious, calling for diplomacy over military tension. Poland, Lithuania, and Latvia have started boosting their air defenses, but a unified European network remains only a concept. In this situation, the justification for European unity is gradually losing strength, and instead, the atmosphere of every country looking out for itself is growing stronger. The drone defense wall isn't under construction yet, but the debates have already exposed Europe's political divisions. Right now, Europe is facing a greater crisis from internal distrust and conflicting interests than from Russia's provocations. The reason for Europe's sluggish response is not simply a matter of finances. Underlying it is a fundamental limitation that makes it structurally difficult for Europe to unite on security issues. That's because security issues are left to the sovereignty of each member state. Any joint military action requires unanimous consent from all member states due to a complex procedural agreement, regardless of the crisis. For example, if Lithuania requests action against Russian provocations, but France or Italy objects for political reasons, the European Union can't act. These structural limits are clear from a military view. The weapon systems and air defense networks of each European country are not standardized, making integrated operations virtually impossible. Germany operates an air defense system developed with its own technology, France maintains its own unique air defense system, and Poland has built an air defense network centered around the American-made Patriot missiles. But integrating them into one system is hard. Even if a country detects a drone, it's hard to share real-time data or coordinate responses instantly with another country's system. The drone barrier, due to technological non-standardization, can't form an integrated air defense network and will just be a patchwork of national systems. Besides inefficiency, Europe's differing security philosophies also hinder integration. France has long emphasized strategic autonomy. They believe Europe should have independent military power and decision-making, not depend on the United States or NATO. Eastern European countries still trust the NATO-centered security system. Because they are facing the threat from Russia directly, they consider the United States as nuclear umbrella and NATO's deterrence as their top security guarantees. This perspective gap makes a unified European military strategy nearly impossible. France wants a stronger independent European military policy, but Poland and the Baltic states prefer closer NATO ties, doubting Europe's ability to act alone. Therefore, Europe now has a complex structure where two security paradigms clash on the same continent. Anyway, the reason for Europe's slow military integration is not simply due to differences of opinion or financial burdens. It's because systematically designed institutions and technologies, as well as the very security perceptions between countries, are all operating separately. Progress on a drone barrier and stronger countermeasures against Russia are hard to implement as a unified system because European countries have differing views. In other words, Europe is essentially tying itself up in a maze of internal systems, procedures, and interests that are even more complicated than Russia's drones. You all know very well why group projects often fail. What do you think about Russia's continued provocations and Europe's division? Please share your thoughts in the comments. That's the end of the video. Thank you.